Hey guys, let's get more news about Miami Heat, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Heat 95, Wolves 94, many mistakes late in the game led to loss. The best part of the NBA is that there is a game nearly every other night, and the worst part is that there is a game nearly every other night. Tonight, the Minnesota Timberwolves took on the Miami Heat. It was the Wolves' third game in 4 nights, with another back-to-back coming on Tuesday and Wednesday. The Wolves have done well with the compact schedule so far, winning their previous 3 games by an average margin of over 20 points. All of those wins came against teams below .500. That trend would continue as the Heat have started the season 3-5 coming into the game tonight. The Heat were not fully healthy coming into the game, with Jimmy Butler spraining his ankle Friday night against the Denver Nuggets. Butler missing games at Target Center has become a bit of a pattern as he has not played against the Wolves in Minnesota since November 24, 2021. Anthony Edwards would start the game off with another 3-pointer, adding to his league lead. After that, the Wolves would go cold, missing 2 of their 12 shots. The Heat would take advantage by pushing the ball on each of the Wolves' misses, scoring 9 early fast break points to jump out to a 23-15 lead. Minnesota's shooting struggles would continue the remainder of the first quarter, finishing 7-25 from the field including 2-12 from beyond the arc, putting them in a 7-point deficit heading into the second quarter. In the second quarter, turnovers would begin to pile up for the Timberwolves. After only turning it over twice in the first quarter, the Wolves would commit 5 turnovers in the first 6 minutes of the second quarter, allowing Miami to build their lead to as high as 12. With 5:41 left in the half, the Timberwolves would break out of their shooting slump, with Edwards starting the run with a 3-pointer. A Julius Randle layup and Naz Reid 3-pointers would set up an and one for Ant to cut the lead to just 1. Minnesota would continue the half playing with great ball movement including this sequence, leading to an Edwards dunk. After shooting poorly for much of the first half, the Wolves would only trail 52-51 heading into halftime. Ant and Randle combined for 25 points for the Timberwolves. Tyler Herro led the Heat in scoring with 12. The Timberwolves' turnover issues would pop up again to start the second half, turning it over 5 times in the first 6 minutes of the quarter. The offensive flow that was constant at the end of the first half disappeared, causing the Wolves to go down 63-56 with 5 minutes left in the third quarter. That would be the moment when the game would turn for the Wolves as they would go on a 15-0 run, holding the Heat scoreless for 6.5 minutes. The Heat would score the last 5 points of the quarter to cut the Timberwolves' lead to 71-68 heading into the final quarter of play. The game would remain close for the entirety of the fourth quarter, with the Wolves taking an 8-point lead with under 5 minutes to go in the game. The Heat would slowly chip away at the Timberwolves' lead, cutting it down to 2 with under a minute left. Late mistakes doom Wolves in 95-94 loss to Heat. The Minnesota Timberwolves acknowledged the need to improve late-game execution and decision-making down the stretch of games after last season's loss in the Western Conference Finals, and work certainly still remains. After a brutal start to the game Sunday night against the Miami Heat, the Wolves rebounded, only to blow it down the stretch with more poor decision-making and shooting. Minnesota shot just 26.9% in the first quarter against the Heat, who got out and ran, giving the Timberwolves problems on both sides of the ball. However, the Wolves righted the ship and trailed by just 1 at the half, then jumped in front by 8 with a 15-0 run late in the third quarter. With the team locked in defensively and generating better offense, as has become typical this season, with good ball movement and shooting, the Wolves looked to have the game in hand. Then, they were outscored 15-6 over the final 4-15, Miami's final 3 coming on an inbounds play that inexplicably resulted in an and one to jump in front of the Wolves by a point with Rudy Gobert, for some reason, on the bench. Sure, it's only the 10th game of the season, and both the players and head coach Chris Finch are still trying to adjust to each other, but it was a rough way to give away a winnable game. Anthony Edwards scored a team-high 22 points but on just 8 of 24 shooting and 4 of 14 from distance, a rare off night for him so far this season. Tyler Herro led the Jimmy Butler'S Heat with 26 points. Fortunately for Minnesota, the Wolves now head to Portland for back-to-back games against the lowly Trailblazers, whom the Timberwolves just beat on Friday. The first of those games, on Tuesday, will be part of the NBA Cup tournament. Warriors named ideal trade destination for $146.3 million star. October 28, Jimmy Butler, number 22 of the Miami Heat, reacts against the Detroit Pistons during the first half at Kaseya Center on October 28, 2024 in Miami, Florida. Note: TO user expressly acknowledges and agrees that, by downloading and/or using this photograph, user is consenting to the terms and conditions of the Getty Images license agreement. Photo by Carmen Mandato / Getty Images. The Golden State Warriors struck out in their pursuit of a second star this summer. First, they failed to prize Paul George away from the LA Clippers in a sign-and trade. And then, they fell short of the Utah Jazz's valuation for Lauri Markkanen, with the star forward eventually signing a contract extension. Golden State lost Klay Thompson to the Dallas Mavericks at the start of free agency. Despite their strong start to the season, a star-level running mate for Steph Curry would be ideal. Eventually, Steve Kerr must reduce his 12-man rotation, which could cause issues with their breakneck pace of play. According to Bleacher Report's Zach Buckley, the Bay Area would be the ideal landing spot for Jimmy Butler. The veteran forward would bring a gritty form of two-way production to the Warriors' rotation. His future with the Miami Heat has been a talking point since the 2024 playoffs. The Warriors might be off to a strong start, but they still haven't filled the void for Stephen Curry's co-star, Buckley wrote. Butler, a six-time All-Star who was delivered some of the strongest postseason performances in recent memory, would finally, and definitively, put an end to Golden State's second star search. Curry's anywhere in the gym shooting range would give Butler optimal spacing to dominate the in-between area where he operates, while Butler's playmaking and scoring would pull defensive attention away from Curry's off-ball activity. Butler, a six-time All-Star, could prove to be the Warriors' missing piece in their search for another championship. Their defensive versatility with him and Draymond Green would become a core part of the team's identity. The Heat are unlikely to let Butler leave on the cheap, despite his $48.7 million salary and player option for next season. Pat Riley's team are bereft of tradable assets. Trading Butler would be the ideal way to restock the cupboard while adding some exciting young talent. Mike Dunleavy Jr. would likely have to part with at least one of Brandon Podziemski, Jonathan Kuminga, or Moses Moody. Multiple draft picks would likely be part of the deal, too. That's the cost of adding another star. If the Warriors are truly aiming to give Curry another shot at a championship, Butler is a smart fit. He would provide Kerr's team with a different dimension on both ends of the floor. And he has a reputation for raising his game in the postseason. And you, fan? What do you think of the situation of Jimmy Butler? Leave your opinion in the comments.